Hi there! Today we're going to be making food featuring mango. I'm gonna go for 4 different recipes and we'll see how they work out. Now you could call it a gift or you could call it a character flaw, but if I see food that is free or a really good deal, I will get it, no matter how impractical, and insist upon making something out of it. That is how I ended up with 5 pounds of fresh cut mango. This was being thrown away because it expired a couple days ago, but it was thankfully salvaged and made its way into my house. From what I can see, it looks perfectly fine, but we will of course open it up and give it a bit of a closer inspection. Please keep in mind that sell-by dates and expiration dates, they're really more of guidelines than strict rules. And in almost every case, it is just as safe to use your eyes, nose, and taste buds to determine if something is still good to eat. So let's go ahead and make 5 pounds worth of mango recipes. For this first recipe, I'm gonna make a mango salad. I'm starting off with about half a pound of mango. And the fact that this is pre-cut does sort of limit my slicing choices. But I think I'm gonna go for something sort of matchstick or julienne reminiscent. Pieces sort of like that. Set your mango aside, and I'm going to utilize this cucumber as well. We're going to go for a similar shape. I've also got this somewhat underripe papaya. It's not as green as the papayas that are typically used to make a papaya salad, which is a Thai salad. This is kind of similar to that, but it is underripe. So I thought I would add some of this to our salad as well. If you've never tried the seeds of the papaya, I really enjoy snacking on them. They taste very peppery. So don't eat like a lot at once because they've got that like black pepper, almost spiciness to them. They're very fun. I like to blend them up and add them to dressings sometimes. If you want to make this same salad, but you don't have a half-ripe papaya on hand, just use a little bit more mango and a little bit more cucumber. I want a little bit of onion too. I think I'm just going to do half a small onion. Now it's time to make a dressing, and this is where we're going to marry the sort of sweet and savory flavors together. We're going to start off with a nice chunk of ginger, a lime. I'm going to cut off all the zest and then use the juice as well. I'm going to add 1 clove of garlic, some maple syrup for sweetness. You could also use agave if you prefer. It's about 2 tablespoons. And some gorgeous tahini for creaminess. 2 or 3 tablespoons. And then to reinforce that mango flavor, I'm just going to add a few pieces of mango to the blender, and we'll blend it up and give it a taste. It could still use a little bit more blending, of course, but it could also use some more acid, so I'm going to add a second lime. The ginger and the lime are really coming through. I'm just going to add a pinch of salt and 1 final blend to make it as smooth as possible. Let's add the dressing and just give it a stir to coat everything in our lovely gingery lime mixture. Next, let's make a mango-based salsa, but a salsa with a little bit of added protein and fillingness, so this could serve as a salsa or a salad if you prefer. We're gonna do that with black beans. And yes, this can is quite dented. You know what that means? It was free. All right, let's start by draining our beans. Drained and rinsed black beans in a bowl. Next, we'll cut these mangoes into small pieces. I'm doing about half a pound of mangoes here. Mangoes in our bowl. We've got an avocado. It's got a pretty bad looking dent on the side, which I imagine will tell you how much I paid for this one too. Look at that. Not the best avocado I've ever seen, but for $0, I'll take it. Just gonna give that a quick cut into squares. And this will break apart and sort of smoosh into the salsa a little bit. So I tend to go for pieces that are a bit bigger than I would otherwise, sort of allowing for some smooshage. Let's go ahead and dice up the other half of this onion. Mince 2 cloves of garlic. And we're gonna finely chop a generous handful of cilantro. If you are still picking the leaves off of your cilantro and discarding the stems, please stop. I mean, do whatever you want, of course, but there's no need. The stems are very flavorful, and if you chop them finely, they add quite a lovely touch to your dish. You also get more use out of the ingredient, and you save all the time of picking leaves off your herbs. Next, lime. I'm gonna start with 1. I suspect we're gonna go for 2, but we'll see. I also like to take, when I've squeezed the lime juice out, I like to do another squeeze with both lime halves because you really do get more juice that way. At least with my juicer. Maybe other people have better juicers where you don't need to do that. About half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of Mexican oregano and some salt. Again, maybe about half a teaspoon. And let's go ahead and sort of mix everything together so we can determine how much lime we want to add. Actually, not bad, but I still think I'm going to add another lime because who doesn't like lime? Now we set it aside and wait. So I'm not sure exactly what happened in my brain where I didn't put any chili in here. But yeah, I'm gonna mince up this jalapeno and put it in our salsa because yes, salsa, in my view of the world anyway, is meant to have spice. So pretend like I did that originally. Continuing on, there are a few more things that I want to do. So I thought in this recipe we would do sort of all of them. I wanna cook some mango, maybe caramelize it. I wanna make something sweet. And I want to make fresh rolls. So let's make some sweet caramelized mango fresh rolls. Before I caramelize the mango, I'm going to toast some coconut. I'm doing it first because once we start caramelizing the mango, the pan's going to be a lot messier. So about half a cup of coconut into our pan. This is an unsweetened coconut flake, but sweetened would also be okay if that's what you have. Every time I toast coconut, I'm amazed by how much better toasted coconut smells and tastes. Relevant because at this point I can already start smelling the toasty coconut smells. We're gonna let it go a little bit longer until more of it has turned to that golden brown color, but keeping a close eye on it because you do not want it to burn. Perfect. We're gonna melt a generous chunk of vegan butter because we're moving on to our mangoes now and we want them to be nice and rich and sweet and caramelized. I can't actually tell you how much that is, but it's enough to make an even layer on the bottom of your pan. Now I'm using unsalted butter, which just means that I'm gonna add a little bit of salt here to help bring out the flavor. Not a lot, just a bit. Cooking this at a medium heat. And we want our mangoes to soften, but not necessarily fall apart. I'm going to sprinkle the mango with coconut sugar. You can also just use regular sugar. Since we have it, and it pairs very nicely with mango, I'm going to be using it. We're going to call that done. Let's make our fresh rolls. We've got our rice paper, and all you've got to do is, with room temperature water, wet both sides. You don't need to soak, it doesn't need to be boiling, just a quick dip into water will do it. We're gonna add a couple pieces of this mango. Then we're also gonna add some noodles. I just boiled some rice vermicelli and we're just gonna pop them in to kind of take up some space and fill in any gaps. You could also do white rice or brown rice or sticky rice or whatever you like. Next, we're gonna add our toasted coconut. And now it's time to roll our wrap. And in the time it took to do this, Our wrappers have actually become somewhat pliable, like magic. Both ends in, bring the top over, and scooch, scooch. There we go. Let's do that a couple more times. Before we declare those fresh rolls done, what is a fresh roll without a dipping sauce? Does that even exist? I don't think so. So I'm just gonna take the remaining sugar in this pan, caramelized. It doesn't look like a lot, but there is a good amount. And it is sort of mango-y and caramelly flavored. And we're going to cook it with half a cup of coconut milk and probably about a tablespoon of cornstarch until it thickens into a nice dippable creamy consistency. There is one last thing I want to whip together before we're done, and that is a simple mango lassi. So we're going to start with about 2 cups of mango. We're going to add to that some vegan yogurt. I don't have a ton left, so that will be a bit of a limiting factor. About 1/3 of a cup. I'm going to start with about 3/4 of a cup of plant-based milk. And this is where we get to add our own flavors to make it delicious. So a couple tablespoons of maple syrup. Again, you can always use another sweetener if you prefer. I do know that maple syrup is expensive. Expensive and delicious. Expensive for a reason. All right, and then we're going to add our cardamom. I'm going to add about a teaspoon, a little bit of rose water. Just like a splash. Now let's blend that and see where we're at. All right, I tasted. Flavor-wise, we are there. Temperature-wise, we need some ice. I'm just gonna drop in a couple ice cubes and then blend it until it is smooth. We've got mango. So much mango. And in case you were worried, we still have plenty of mango left over. Let's eat some mango. So let's start off with our mango and cucumber and papaya salad with that sesame dressing. I topped it with a few sesame seeds and added a little garnish of cilantro. This is one of those ones that tastes better than it looks. The dressing is sweet and nutty. The mango and the papaya work beautifully together. Definitely the mango is a little bit more dominant of flavor than the papaya, but both are great. The crunch of the cucumber, excellent. And then the much needed bite of the onion brings it back around to a sweet and savory dish. Delicious. Let us cleanse our palates with a sip of our mango lassi. That has not cleansed my palate, but it has enlivened my palate. Cardamom and mango is such a good combination. The tang from our vegan yogurt, and then the beautiful floral sweetness of the rose. That is a stunning combination of flavors. I might be making this one again with what's left of our mango. On to our black bean mango salsa. Cheers. This one is very creamy, and the beans add a lot of flavor. It's a delicious, delicious salsa. The one thing I will say though is I don't taste a huge amount of mango. It's not that I can't suss it out if I really try and analyze the flavors, but it's definitely not one of the first flavors you get. You get lime, you get garlic, you get avocado, you get the creaminess from the beans, and you get that sort of like green vegetal jalapeno flavor, as well as the cilantro flavor, and then you can find the fruitiness of the mango. But it's really not capturing the flavor of the dish the way it has in some of the other dishes. For what it's worth, it's not bad when you have 5 pounds of mangoes to get through, but if you really want to highlight mango and make it shine, this might not be the right option. And we saved our dessert for last. I did end up adding a little bit more sugar to our dipping sauce, as well as some of the toasted coconut that I had left over. Hold on one second. I really have to analyze this flavor to fully tell you about it. Sorry, one more bite and then I'll have gained enough information about this. All right, here are my detailed tasting notes on that one. Yum, sweet. The coconut and the caramelly flavors really play well with the mango. I do like that you get that like chew from the rice paper and the rice noodles. A little bit of textural variation, as well as like a little bit of a, I don't think crunch is exactly the right word, but there is a difference in texture with the coconut flakes to everything else. Almost a crunch. It's almost a crunch. Plus you get that toasty flavor from the coconut. I mean, delicious. Like, what is not to like in that? Unless you don't like mango or coconut. And in case you're wondering, we do still have about so much mango left. Here, let me weigh it. It's about 2 pounds. So we have a little bit less than 2 pounds of mango left. I am probably just gonna freeze that, to be honest, because we have a lot of mango to eat through at the moment. So I think if we just put it in a single layer on the freezer, let it freeze solid, and then plop it in a Ziploc, it should stay good for a long time. Until then, let me know which one of these mango recipes sounded best to you. Also, I would love to know about any amazing grocery deals you've had. To clarify, there's a woman in my neighborhood who gets the food from the food banks when they're unable to use it for whatever reason. And then she'll offer it out to the neighborhood so anyone who can use it can go ahead and take it, and that is where this mango came from. If you liked this video, we'd be so appreciative if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe, we post just about every week, and we try and share delicious and exciting vegan food content with all of you. See you next week. Bye!